Hey everyone, welcome to the Megan Waldrop podcast. I'm Megan. Thank you so much for being here. If you've been here before, love you, love seeing you again, love chatting with you. Thank you for your time so much. I never take it for granted. And if you're new here, what a treat. Thank you for pulling up a chair at a table with us. We're here to welcome you in. And yeah, welcome to this place that is, we have these deep conversations, these curious conversations that I like to say is like sitting on the back porch late at night with some of your deep friends that you can get into it with. Or maybe sometimes, you don't have friends that you can talk to about this, and that's totally cool. We talk about spiritual stuff sometimes, existential things, and things that just make you about, what it's like to be human. And we're all about trying to figure out ways to feel more joy inside of our bodies. It's all about working through certain challenges that we have or trying out new practices that can make us feel joyful every freaking day. We don't need to wait for a vacation to feel joyful. And on the way on this journey, pack your BYOB, bring your own beliefs. There's no wrong answers here. It's whatever feels right and true for you. It's always about the growth and expansion. There's no wrong answers ever, ever, ever. Don't let anybody tell you different, okay? So this one gets me hot and bothered just talking about it, thinking about it. Your triggers are your gurus. This is something that I heard recently, and I was like, oh, damn, that's so good and frustrating as hell at the same time. Okay, yeah, I just had to have a moment to feel like it is triggering AF. But on this note, I really want to say whenever it's like triggers are your gurus, it's like this is a time for us to replace that word trigger with the word activation. So it's about, you know, instead of putting it on someone else, it's about turning it into how can this help us? Okay. So have you ever thought, like, why did that bother me so much? Maybe, there's someone says something at the dinner table and it seems really small, but all of a sudden you're furious, you're defensive, you're hurt, you're anxious, resentful. Hello, every single one of those, 100%. I have been and worked through. And afterwards, you're thinking, why did I react that strongly? Like, dang. Or why am I still feeling so freaking intense right now? But this is the good part, okay, y'all? Because life is gonna life and people are gonna trigger us and activate us. But the intensity, let's use that intensity as information. So this is data collecting at this point. So triggers versus activation. A trigger can sometimes make us think, you did this to me. But an activation invites more of a, something happened and it activated something in me that I need to look at. So, not every strong reaction, by the way, means that you're wrong or that the other person did nothing wrong. Sometimes anger is appropriate. Sometimes a boundary is, really has been crossed. And so the question is, why did this activate me so deeply? And what I've learned, and I'm sure you've heard of this too, is that your triggers can point you towards your wounds. Ouch, right? Oh gosh, like here we go, right? Like wounds that certain experiences can touch are rejection, abandonment, feeling unseen, not feeling valued, not being valued, feeling controlled, being criticized, not being enough, having to earn love, feeling that you need to be validated. And if the person in front of you is pressing that button, they might be pressing that button, maybe unintentionally, but they didn't necessarily install the button to begin with. Ouch, right? Where you have to take accountability here a little bit, which, by the way, is activating me a tidge just thinking about it. So here's one that really freaking got me and that I've only just recently, after researching for this episode, have been able to release. So I was at a dinner with some friends probably back in April. Okay. And it was dinner with friends and then it was friends of friends. So there was a bunch of people at the table and there was such a cute, cute little girl at the end of the table. She was probably not even one. She was still in like a seat or whatever. and her mom was sitting by her. Her mom was super sweet. Her mom, blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skin, little girl, dark skin, dark eyebrows, beautiful dark hair. She looked Hispanic. And since I'm half Puerto Rican, I always love to learn about other people's ethnicities and talk about cultures and just share different stories from our childhood and what makes us feel so, loving and I guess is proud the word, but just grateful and thankful for these different cultural backgrounds. So I was like, oh my gosh, that little girl is so cute. She looks Hispanic. And I asked my friend about it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, her dad is 100% Mexican." And she goes, "Not half Mexican, not a quarter, he's 100%." And in that moment, I got I was like, did is she slighting me right now because she knows my background? She's very, very, she knows me very well. And I felt like, wait, what is this like not half situation? Or what is this like he's 100%? And I started taking it personally. By the way, I have a whole chat about this identity. I talk episode 7, I talk about how Bad Bunny regulated our nervous system, especially for Puerto Ricans, especially for Latin culture around the world. That Super Bowl really changed so much because it made us feel that no matter where we lived, no matter how much Puerto Rican we are Puerto Rican. And it united this beautiful Latin culture across the world to make us feel like we are all family, no matter what. And so this was something that was new for me because that happened in February, the Super Bowl. So now, my sister and I are really excited to own that because for so many years it felt like we couldn't really claim that because we didn't speak fluent Spanish and we weren't raised on the island or in Spanish communities. So we felt, not fully Puerto Rican, but not fully Caucasian. And if you have this background, if you have a mixed background as well, you totally understand where I'm coming from. So that's why when she said he's 100%, not half, not quarter, but fully Mexicated, and I was Mexican, and I was fully activated 100%. I was like, is this a microaggression? Because also let me go back. All right. So there was another time I was in Puerto Rico. This is in the same train. This was 2 years ago in Puerto Rico with some friends and my husband. And we were on the west side of the island, and it's very casual over there. It's like the surf towns and everything. Beautiful island, forever gorgeous. So I said, well, let's look for some place to go for dinner. And the guy said, okay, I'll look it up. It's like, let's look up somewhere nice we can go. It's our last night. And he goes, well, he said something like, well, it's Puerto Rico. I don't think there's really any nice restaurants here. And I was like, skirt. And I'm like, I'm pissed. Do I react? And if I do, I'm going to come off really defensive, like I'm defending all the Puerto Rican people. But I felt protective in both of those situations for this identity. Okay. Okay. So then I go through the list. What I eventually realized that button that was instilled in me, not instilled by somebody else, but that is already inside of me, is that I have been challenged with my own self-identity. Like I said, from my mixed background, I felt like since growing up, whenever you had to choose race or nationality or whatever on a government form, I never chose one or the other. I always chose both because I didn't want to choose my mom's side or my dad's side over the other. And it's also that I really love my mom's culture, but will I be accepted, as a half Puerto Rican? And it's been interesting because also the self-identity is not just being Puerto Rican, but I was a military kid, which I loved growing up around the world. Yet also, it was during formative times in my life where I was, in elementary school, we lived in Hawaii, and I was one of the only Caucasian, half Puerto Rican kids. Everybody else had Asian descent. In my elementary school, I was one of the few, I mean, probably less than 1% who did not have an Asian background. And so I felt like an outcast a little bit there too. We moved to Germany after that. And I mean, Europe's amazing, but going to an American high school, it was interesting because I was American middle school and high school freshman year. And so, but anytime some kid came from America, we were all just like, oh my God, what's going on in America? Like, what are the clothes? Like, we'd see their clothes. Like, what are they wearing? Because we all shopped at the Post Exchange, the PX. Like, there wasn't any really variety for fashion. And music wise, we knew about music because of the kids who came to school. So we'd learn about this was during Nirvana, Tupac, like epic time for music. And so this is how we learned about the culture. We didn't have the internet back then. And so it was always this yearning of, am I having this full American kid experience too when I was living overseas? And it's also, you're a teen. So you're trying to figure out who the F you are. You're kind of, trying on this identity and trying on that identity. And you just are trying to figure out who you are as a person. And, these situations, the buttons that were pressed that had already been instilled in me, they brought up these feelings of belonging and being seen and probably validation from others. But really, it's how I see myself and my attachments to those identities. So what I did differently once I understood this activation, I was like, okay, I softened because I felt like I was gripping so tightly. I noticed myself just going, okay, that's what I'm seeing. I'm looking outward for something that I already have inside. So I am the only person who can define myself. I don't need other people's approval or validation to show that I'm this or that I have this identity. And also, why am I gripping so hard onto these identities? Having a culture background is really special no matter what your culture is. But it's like, what can these cultures teach us? These are our ancestors of this is how we got here, like our genes, our DNA. How we got here is, maybe a language that is similar that is spoken, not necessarily a verbal language, but even internal language. What are these practices? What have they taught our families and what are they teaching us? And what can I take from my culture and use to help myself evolve and grow? Not necessarily hold on to this culture so tightly, but also just to appreciate and be like, oh, this is who I am. This is a part of who I am. This is a part of my human experience. This does not define me. These attachments are just things. I'm not going to be half Puerto Rican when I die. I'm not going to be half Caucasian or I'm not going to be American. I'm just going to be a soul that has existed and now is somewhere else. Who knows, right? BYOB, by the way. That doesn't mean I won't wear my Puerto Rican flag as a cape. But I digress. My whole thing is that I was looking at these activations and realizing, oh, okay, so I'm looking for others to identify who I am, which by the way, feels really that kind of starts to anger me thinking, wow, I'm giving my power away to somebody else to define me. No, 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 no. We are the only ones who can define ourselves, right? So instead, I gave up the anger and I gave myself softness and grace and forgiveness. I was like, you're just trying to figure out, it's all good, Megan. Like, it's all good. The internal strength is coming to this answer for myself. That strength is like, oh, wait, I don't need to prove anything. Oh my gosh, that feels freeing. I don't need to have anybody validate or be like, oh wow, she is, and look at her, and blah blah. Because like, what does that even matter? Honestly, what they were like, oh cool, yeah, you are for 5 seconds, and they move on with their lives. They don't care. They have so much other things going on in their own lives, trying to figure out probably their own identities. So now I just think, okay, how beautiful and more sacred and special it is that I have this on the inside to work for myself. And I thank God for this realization. It's like I got out of my own way and now I can move forward with this new information and be like, oh, I don't need to waste any energy trying to prove to anybody about these things. I can share parts of my culture that I learned that I think are really interesting and that can help others and might be entertaining or inspiring to others, but I don't need to be like, this is who I am. See, it's on the form, or I need to take a blood test or my DNA test, whatever. I don't need to do all that. It's like we can just exist. And these triggers, when people have these triggers come up, sometimes it's about money, sometimes it's about love, whatever that is, it's like, what does that mean? If it's about money, what are we saying about money? That we only have self-worth, or we only have value if we have a certain amount in our bank account, or we only have self-worth or value if we have this person love us, or I have this job, or I live in this home. Like, what is it really that we're grasping onto? Like, why are these attachments, they feel like they're the holy grail in this lifeline that's going to make us break open and become free? It's like we already have that inside of us. And I know intellectually we get this concept, and believe me, I'm with you, because it's like, yeah, of course, this makes sense. Of course, we have everything inside of us. The tough part is practicing that and actually going deeper and being like, well, why did this MF just totally trigger me? Oh, wait, I'm getting activated instead because they're just pushing a button that they did or did not know was there. Why is that button there in the first place? Okay, let me unpack this. And every time that we're able to even stop and see that, oh, wait, this trigger, this activation is a lesson, it becomes a doorway. It becomes a lesson. It becomes this opportunity for us to break free from these things that we've been holding on to within ourselves. So that's what it means when your triggers or your activations are your gurus. It's not that, your enemy or this person who is not very kind to you is now you need to go worship at their feet. No, it's like, oh, that whole situation, that energy, whatever that experience was, that's the guru, that's the teacher. That's the spiritual practice. Whatever that person evoked in me, that's the spiritual practice. I am actually my own guru. I am my own I am the only person that can define this. God is within me. However do you define it? BYOB. It's all the light is within us. All that love is within us. It's just getting out of our own way to actually even get down to it, to kind of release the grip on it, to pry these freaking attachments from our I was going to say dead lifeless fingers, but we're alive, but that joke didn't land. Anyway, you see what I'm saying, though. I'm saying this as someone who is on this journey with you, who is working every day on this, every time I get activated. And yeah, sometimes I go into default mode and I'm like, you. And then I'm like, no, it's not them, it's me. Now, if I keep going back to a person and getting treated a certain way because I'm not putting boundaries in place, that might be, you know, that's also on me. I need to have my boundaries. But when it just comes to the day to day, it's like, okay, and it sounds exhausting at first when you're like, oh my God, every time I get triggered, now I'm gonna have to freaking learn a new lesson. But you can see it like this. Wow, what a great opportunity. Every time I get triggered or activated, I have the opportunity to level the F up. I have the opportunity to continually release this to where it doesn't even bother me anymore. Like these triggers are going to come, and maybe I feel okay about it now. Like, oh, I've learned to release this trigger, and I'm sure something else will come up and I'll feel activated. And, but that's good because it's going to keep giving me more practice. It's going to keep giving you more practice, more muscle memory to just be like, oh, that doesn't define me. That doesn't have power over me anymore. Be like, oh, meh. It's, that's interesting. You know what I mean? So here's a few activation questions that you can use as a simple framework. So when you notice yourself having a big reaction, just pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling? And you can name it without any judgment. Just like, what am I feeling? I'm feeling pissed, or I'm feeling offended, defensive, whatever that might be. Second, you can ask yourself, what happened right before I felt this? Like, get specific. Like, what was it? Was it something they said? Was it something they did? Did I see something on social media or TV or on the street, whatever that is? What happened right before I felt this feeling? Or maybe, you were having a certain day, maybe you're on your period. I don't know. Just get in all the factors. Number three, what story am I telling myself about what happened? Because you know how it can turn in this little sand, can like you just be like this little morsel. Like, what do they mean? Oh, yeah. Well, that probably means they disrespected me and they don't care. And then that means you're like, whoa, like now you're in a whole other lexicon of so much energy putting into something that probably wasn't even that big of a deal. But honestly, if it activated you, it's a big enough deal to probably work through it, right? So, what story am I telling myself about what happened? Number four, what does this remind me of? Yeah, what does this remind me of? Well, for me, it reminded me of feeling like I had to prove myself or that I didn't belong or that I was still searching for that belongingness. And then five, what do I need to do right now? That's a big one. It's like, what do I need to do right now? It's like, hmm, maybe step away from that energetic experience of like putting it on that person and turn it on myself and say, well, what part of me is really getting activated? And maybe the most powerful question is, what is this experience showing me about myself? So it goes from blame to curiosity. Instead of saying, why are they like this? They're activating me. Why are they like this? We can ask, why does this affect me like this? Isn't that, for me, just that, just alone, sort of why are they like this? Like, why does this affect me like this? Like, I automatically feel like I feel more whole. I don't feel like, ugh, like sharp and I need to like rage out and be like, figure out with my pointy mind of why are they like this? Like, wait, why is this affecting me? There's almost a softness in like this, ooh, hmm, because that means there's progress happening. It's like when we're able to just kind of turn it around, be like, huh, why is this affecting me like this? And it doesn't mean to excuse someone's behavior. It means taking back your own power. That's the whole thing is like, why does it feel so whole? Because it's your own power. You're not giving away your energy to start trying to, crossword puzzle, critical think about why someone behaves the way they do. Instead, it's like, oh, wait, my power is still within me. How can I use this power for good? So, with that said, two truths can be held at the same time. So, their behavior wasn't okay, and my reaction is giving me information about myself. Boom. It's a two for one. It's a win-win. That's not cool. I'm not going to deal with that. And also, this is giving me a chance to use my power for good on the inside. So here's some everyday examples. When the activation is the teacher, when the guru, when the trigger, whatever, when the activation is your teacher, if someone's constantly interrupting you, maybe you're asking, where do I struggle to take up space? Or why, or maybe this is, not your thing. Maybe this is their thing of where I struggle to take up space. Maybe you constantly interrupt someone. By the way, yes, I'm working on that as well. You get so excited, you just want to keep talking. But it's like, oh, maybe you're wondering, where do I struggle to take up space? Or if someone doesn't respond to one of your text messages or email, whatever, it's like, what story do I immediately create about my worth whenever someone doesn't respond? Or if someone criticizes you, you could turn that into how much of my identity depends on being approved of. Or when someone succeeds, you can ask, what comes up for me when someone else gets what I want? That's a big one. Holy moly, with the compare and despair vibes. When someone succeeds, what comes up for me when someone else gets what I want? And the goal isn't to shame yourself. We're not about shame here. It's about becoming more curious instead of reactive. So here's a little thing I invite you to think about. I'm going to do this with you. It's a small practice. You can do it. It's like if there's someone who's constantly activating you, you can write down when blank happens, I feel blank. And then the story I immediately tell myself is blank. And then you could say, this might be connected to blank. And finally, what would taking care of myself look like here? I already feel better after we've had this conversation. Honestly, I really appreciate this practice. It's a tough one, but this one feels like such the ultimate practice. This is not the ultimate practice to have the least amount of things bother us. Why are we so attached to so many things? Well, we're human, number one. This is also things that have happened probably in our childhood that we don't remember, or also, if you believe this, past lives, or even in our DNA. Like our DNA, we have certain behaviors that are passed down that we've inherited, and it's not even anything that we have control over. And so, but we do have the ability to break through some of these barriers, and we do have the ability to continue to practice. And like I said before, like we can do this for the rest of our lives, and that's a great thing. This isn't an exhausting thing. It's going to get easier, okay? Because what else is there? Just to get pissed all the time? I mean, I've done that for over 40 years. I'm tired of it. So these triggers, I feel like this is the big obstacle here, but the way that this is broken down feels really digestible. So instead of why are they like this, it's why is this affecting me in this way? And almost in that way, you're kind of like taking yourself out of the moment to be like, oh yeah, I'm not even engaging with this person or this energy or whatever that is. I'm now engaging with my own energy. So the activations aren't necessarily proof that there's something wrong with you. They're invitations to know yourself more deeply. So the next time someone's pushing your buttons, instead of immediately asking, how do I get them to stop pushing my buttons? You might ask, why is this button here and what is it trying to teach me? You're not alone. You got this. Here's to having so many opportunities for us to practice this over and over again in the best way, so where it doesn't affect us anymore. We're going to break through. We're going to get out of our own ways. And this is the way for us to just have more joy into our lives. So we're not just zeroed in on this, whatever, these triggers, these activations, these attachments. And we're able to just be like, oh, okay. I'm actually just going to go chill over here because I'm not activated at all. Like I'm actually doing okay. I love you guys. I hope that you're doing well. This is what you're telling your other ones. You're on the couch chilling. You're like, I hope everything's cool. I'm good. I'm working through what's going on in my head and there's nothing I need to fix. There's more of like, what do I need to be aware of and why it's there, and be like, oh, okay, well, that story isn't even true to begin with. So that's okay. I'm going to move on. Thank you for this episode. I truly appreciate your presence in this episode because every time I speak to you, it feels like a therapy session for like everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like for myself, I'm reading about things, I'm sharing things that I've learned, and it feels like a group session for us, that we're all working through this together. We're all just doing our best. And believe me, you're doing better than you think. That's the other thing. We have these inner critics going on. We have people, opinions, noise, news, whatever it is out there that are constantly trying to distract us from the goodness in the world. And you are the goodness in the world. There's so much goodness that you have inside of you that you give to others every day and that you don't even realize it. And so you're doing better than you think. Thank you for all that you do, for all that you put out there. For when you stumble, you pick yourself back up and you keep going. That's what it's all about. You got this. You're not alone. I love you. I so appreciate you. Thank you for being here. As always, I'm here if you need me. You can email me at support@meganwaldrop.com, or I'd love it if you leave a review. I'm always interested to see how these episodes hit. And yeah, if anything, I'll see you next time. Love y'all. Bye.